You know, sometimes in life the strongest thing you can do is nothing at all. That's right, nothing. I'm talking about the power of silence. You see, silence isn't weakness, it's strength. It's a way of taking control without saying a single word. When someone comes at you with negativity, criticism, or hostility, their goal isn't just to express themselves, it's to provoke you, to get a reaction, to pull you into their world of negativity. But when you choose silence, when you refuse to engage, you take all that power away from them. Think about it. What happens when you argue back with someone who's being disrespectful or rude? Most of the time it doesn't make things better, it just adds fuel to the fire. Their attitude grows stronger, their words become sharper, and before you know it, you're stuck in a cycle of negativity that's hard to escape. But when you stay silent, you're saying, I won't let your attitude control me. You're refusing to give them what they want. And let me tell you, that is one of the most powerful responses you can give. Now, I'm not saying silence is always easy. It takes a lot of self-discipline to hold your tongue when someone is testing your patience. It's natural to want to defend yourself or prove your point. But here's the thing, silence is not about letting someone walk all over you. It's about rising above the situation. It's about showing that you're so secure in yourself, so confident in your values, that you don't need to engage with negativity. Silence is strength under control. It's a way of saying, I don't need to fight to prove my worth. I'll give you an example. Have you ever seen a child throw a tantrum? They scream, cry, and stomp their feet, hoping to get attention. But what happens when the parent doesn't react? The tantrum eventually stops. The child realizes they're not getting the response they wanted, so they have no choice but to calm down. Adults aren't much different. When someone is throwing their attitude at you, it's often their way of trying to control the situation. But when you choose silence, you're saying, I won't play this game, and just like the child, they'll eventually have to stop. Here's the beauty of silence. It gives you the upper hand without a fight. It allows you to stay in control of your emotions, to think clearly and to act with wisdom. While the other person is being loud, you're standing firm. While they're trying to provoke you, you're staying calm. And while they're showing their worst side, you're showing your best. Silence speaks louder than words ever could, because it shows that you're above the drama, above the negativity, and above the need to prove yourself to anyone. But let's take it a step further. Silence doesn't just protect you, it impacts the other person as well. When you stay silent, it forces them to reflect on their behavior. Without your reaction to fuel their attitude, they're left with nothing but their own words and actions to consider. And many times they'll realize the error of their ways, not because you told them, but because you showed them through your silence. Now, don't get me wrong, there's a time to speak up, to set boundaries, and to address issues head on. But there's also a time to let silence do the talking. And when you master the art of knowing when to speak and when to stay silent, you gain a kind of power that no one can take away from you. You're no longer reacting to the world around you, you're choosing how to respond. And that, my friend, is the mark of true strength. So the next time someone tries to test you with their attitude, remember this, your silence is not weakness, it's wisdom, it's strength, it's power. It's a way of protecting your peace and maintaining your dignity. Let them wonder what you're thinking. Let them reflect on their behavior. Let your silence destroy their attitude. And most importantly, let your silence remind you of your own strength. Because when you choose silence, you're not just winning the moment, you're mastering yourself. And that, my friend, is a victory worth striving for. Let me share something powerful with you. Silence is one of the most effective ways to encourage self-reflection in others. When someone comes at you with a bad attitude, harsh words, or negativity, they're often trying to provoke a reaction. But when you respond with silence, you give them the unexpected. Instead of fueling their behavior, you create space for them to face their actions, their words, and most importantly, their own attitude. Silence holds up a mirror, and in that mirror they see themselves as they are. Now here's the truth most people don't realize: reflection doesn't happen in the middle of an argument. It happens in the quiet moments after. When you engage in a heated exchange, all anyone is thinking about is how to respond or how to defend themselves. But when you step back, when you remain silent, it creates a pause. And that pause can be a powerful thing. In that pause, the other person has a chance to hear their own words echo back at them. They're no longer distracted by your reaction. Instead, they're left with their own behavior to process. I've seen this play out time and time again. I've seen people who were ready to argue, ready to fight, completely disarmed by silence. They expected pushback, and when they didn't get it, they were left to sit with their own thoughts. And you know what often happens? They start to think about what they said, about how they acted. They start to question themselves. They start to wonder why you didn't react. And that wonder turns into introspection. Silence forces people to deal with themselves. It's like turning off the noise in a room and letting them hear their own voice for the first time. And let me tell you, that's not always comfortable for them. Many times the people who lash out or have a bad attitude are dealing with something deeper: frustration, insecurity, or even pain. Your silence can help them recognize that. It gives them the space to think, to feel, and to reflect in a way that no argument ever could. But let me make this clear: your silence isn't about manipulating or shaming someone into feeling bad. It's about creating an opportunity for growth. It's about choosing peace over conflict and choosing wisdom over impulsiveness. By staying silent, you're saying, I respect myself enough not to engage, and I respect you enough to let you figure this out on your own. Now, I know silence can be difficult. When someone challenges you or comes at you with negativity, the instinct is to defend yourself, to prove them wrong, or to set the record straight. But I want you to consider this: silence is often more effective than words. Words can escalate, silence de-escalates. Words can challenge, silence encourages self-challenge. And that's where true change happens, not in the heat of the moment, but in the quiet reflection after. Let me give you a practical example. Imagine someone criticizing you in a meeting or a group setting. Your silence in that moment does two things. First, it shows everyone around you that you're confident enough not to engage in unnecessary conflict. And second, it gives the person criticizing you time to think about what they've said. Often they'll realize they were out of line, and if they have any integrity, they'll apologize. If they don't, well, their behavior becomes more apparent to everyone around them, not because you called them out, but because they exposed themselves. In life, people remember how you handle yourself in tough moments. Choosing silence over conflict shows a level of strength and maturity that people admire. And for the person who's being negative, your silence can be the nudge they need to reflect, to grow, and maybe even to change. So what's the takeaway here? Your silence is a tool. It's a way to protect your peace, to maintain your dignity, and to encourage self-reflection in others. It's not about avoiding confrontation. It's about choosing the higher road. And on that road, you find clarity, growth, and the ability to focus on what truly matters. The next time someone tests you with their words or their attitude, I want you to remember this: you don't have to respond to everything. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is stay silent and let your silence do the work. Because when the noise fades, people are left with their own thoughts, and that's where real transformation begins. Your silence can be the spark for someone else's reflection, and that reflection can lead to something greater than any argument ever could. Now, let me tell you something important about silence. It's not just about what you avoid, it's about what you preserve. When you choose silence in the face of negativity, you're not giving in or backing down. No, you're protecting one of the most valuable assets you have: your energy. You see, your energy is precious, and how you use it determines so much about your life, your success, your happiness, your ability to overcome challenges. The moment you engage with someone's negativity, you're giving them a piece of that energy, and most of the time, it's energy you can't afford to lose. Think about it. How many times have you walked away from an argument or a heated exchange feeling drained, frustrated, or even defeated? It's not because you lost the argument or failed to make your point. It's because the very act of engaging took something out of you. That's what happens when you give your energy to the wrong things. And make no mistake, someone with a bad attitude thrives on that energy. They feed on your reactions, your frustration, and your attempts to reason with them. But when you choose silence, you deny them that power. You protect your energy and keep it where it belongs with you. You see, energy is like a bank account. Every interaction you have is either a deposit or a withdrawal. When you engage with positivity, encouragement, or meaningful conversation, you're making deposits you're adding to your reserves. But when you spend time arguing, defending, or dealing with negativity, you're making withdrawals. And here's the kicker: negative interactions often cost more than positive ones add. That's why it's so important to be intentional about where and how you spend your energy. Silence is a way of saying, I choose not to spend my energy on this. Let me share something from my own life. Early in my career, I was speaking at an event where someone in the audience decided to challenge me, not with constructive questions, but with negativity and personal attacks. I had a choice. I could engage, defend myself, and get pulled into their drama, or I could stay silent and let them exhaust themselves. I chose silence. I stayed calm, kept my energy focused on the audience that was there to learn and grow, and let the moment pass. Do you know what happened? The person eventually stopped, and the room was with me, not them. My silence preserved my energy and allowed me to stay focused on what truly mattered. Now let's be clear, protecting your energy doesn't mean ignoring everything or avoiding all conflict. There are times when you need to stand up, speak out, and set boundaries, but those moments should be chosen intentionally, not in reaction to someone else's negativity. Silence is about recognizing what's worth your energy and what isn't. It's about knowing that you don't have to attend every argument you're invited to. Sometimes the most powerful statement you can make is no statement at all. Here's the beauty of silence that keeps you in control. When you refuse to engage with negativity, you stay in charge of your emotions, your mindset, and your focus. You don't let someone else's attitude dictate your day or your direction. And over time, this habit of protecting your energy has a compound effect. You find yourself less stressed, more productive, and more at peace. You have more energy to invest in your goals, your relationships, and the things that truly matter to you. So what's the lesson here? The next time someone comes at you with negativity, before you react, ask yourself, is this worth my energy? If the answer is no, choose silence. Protect your energy, not because you're afraid to engage, but because you know your energy is too valuable to waste. Keep it for the things that matter, the things that move you forward, and the things that bring you joy. Remember, my friend, you don't have to respond to everything. You don't have to fight every battle or prove every point. Sometimes the greatest strength is in walking away with your energy intact, your peace preserved, and your focus on what truly matters. Silence isn't just the absence of words, it's the presence of wisdom. And when you protect your energy, you're not just avoiding negativity, you're investing in your own success and well-being. That's a choice worth making every time. Let me share something that can change how you approach conflict. Silence has the power to break the cycle of conflict. When negativity is aimed at you, the natural human reaction is to push back, to defend yourself, or to retaliate. But here's the thing, reacting in kind doesn't resolve the issue, it perpetuates it. Negativity begets negativity, and before you know it, you're caught in a whirlwind of conflict, neither side willing to back down. But when you respond with silence, you interrupt that cycle. You disrupt the flow of hostility, and in doing so, you reclaim control of the situation. Conflict feeds on energy, especially emotional energy. When you engage in a heated exchange, you're fueling that fire. You're giving the other person more to latch onto, more reasons to escalate, and more justification for their behavior. It's like adding wood to a flame. It grows hotter and spreads further. But silence, my friend, is like removing the fuel altogether. It smothers the fire before it can spread, leaving it to burn out on its own. I've seen this principle in action countless times. Imagine a situation where someone is throwing accusations at you, raising their voice, trying to provoke a reaction. If you shout back or try to match their tone, you're essentially joining their storm. But if you remain calm, composed, and silent, something remarkable happens. Their words start to lose momentum. Without your response to keep the conflict alive, it begins to fizzle. Your silence sends a message that you won't participate in the negativity, and in doing so, you change the dynamic entirely. Now, silence doesn't mean passivity. It doesn't mean you're giving up or conceding. On the contrary, silence is a deliberate choice, a sign of strength and wisdom. It says, I'm in control of myself, and I won't be dragged into a situation that doesn't serve me. That kind of control is powerful. It keeps you grounded and allows you to approach the situation with clarity instead of emotion. There's another layer to this. Silence doesn't just stop the conflict in the moment, it sets the tone for future interactions. When people see that you don't respond to negativity, they're less likely to try provoking you again. They begin to understand that you're not someone who can be easily rattled or drawn into unnecessary disputes. This isn't about avoiding all confrontation. It's about choosing your battles wisely. It's about showing that you value your peace more than proving a point. But let's talk about what happens inside you when you choose silence. When you stay quiet instead of reacting, you give yourself the gift of time. Time to process what's happening, time to think about the best way to respond, and time to decide if a response is even necessary. That pause can make all the difference. It shifts you from a reactive state to a proactive one. Instead of acting on impulse, you act with intention, and that's where real power lies. Now, I'm not saying silence is always the answer. There are times when you need to speak up, to assert yourself, or to address an issue directly. But those moments should be chosen with care, not dictated by someone else's negativity. When you break the cycle of conflict with silence, you create space for solutions, for understanding, and for peace. So the next time someone tries to pull you into their storm, remember this: you don't have to go with them. You can choose silence. You can choose to break the cycle of conflict, to rise above the noise, and to stay true to your values and your peace. Silence isn't just the absence of words, it's the presence of wisdom, strength, and self-control. And in the face of conflict, those qualities are far more powerful than any argument could ever be. Your silence is not a sign of surrender, it's a sign of mastery over yourself, over your emotions, and over the situation at hand. And that kind of mastery, my friend, is what allows you to walk away from conflict not as a participant, but as a victor. That's the power of silence, and that's the power you hold in your hands every single day. Use it wisely and watch how it transforms not just your relationships, but your life as a whole. Let me tell you something that's both simple and profound. Silence speaks volumes. That's right, without uttering a single word, you can send a message that resonates louder and clearer than any argument or explanation ever could. Silence, when used wisely, is not the absence of communication, it's the most deliberate form of it. It's a way of asserting yourself, setting boundaries, and even commanding respect. And let me tell you, it's a language that people notice and understand. Think about it. When someone is throwing negativity your way, whether it's criticism, sarcasm, or even outright hostility, they're expecting a response. They're looking for a reaction to justify their behavior, to escalate the tension, or simply to feel like they're in control. But when you meet their words with silence, you take all of that away from them. Your silence says, I hear you, but I refuse to engage on your terms. It's a powerful statement of self-respect and self-control. Now, let's be honest, silence isn't always easy. There's a natural temptation to defend yourself, to explain your side, or to push back against unfairness. But here's the truth: sometimes the best defense is no defense at all. Your silence can convey confidence and composure in a way that words never could. It shows that you're secure enough in yourself that you don't need to validate or justify your worth to anyone. That kind of confidence is magnetic. It's something people respect even if they don't understand it right away. Silence also sends another powerful message. It says, I value my peace more than this argument. By choosing not to engage, you're prioritizing your emotional and mental well-being over the need to prove a point. And let me tell you, that's not just wise, it's liberating. It frees you from the endless back and forth of negativity and allows you to focus on what truly matters. But silence doesn't just communicate strength, it can also teach. When you stay silent in the face of someone's bad attitude, it forces them to confront themselves. Without your reaction to fuel their behavior, they're left with their own words and actions to consider. Silence holds up a mirror, and in that mirror they see themselves as they truly are. It's a subtle but effective way of saying, this is who you're being right now, take a look. I've seen silence work wonders in situations where words would have only made things worse. I've seen people diffuse heated arguments, de-escalate conflicts, even inspire moments of self-reflection in others simply by choosing to remain quiet. It's not about avoiding the issue or letting someone off the hook. It's about responding in a way that's thoughtful, intentional, and impactful. Let me give you an example. Imagine you're in a meeting and someone challenges you publicly in a way that's more about showing off than contributing to the discussion. You could argue back, defend yourself, or try to outsmart them. But what if you didn't? What if you stayed silent, looked them in the eye, and let the weight of their own words settle in the room? Chances are the silence would speak for itself. The room would notice, and so would they. Your silence would shift the focus from you to their behavior, and that's a powerful shift. So what's the takeaway here? The next time someone tries to provoke you, don't feel pressured to fill the silence. Let it be. Use it as a tool, as a statement, as a boundary. Let your silence speak for you, and trust that it says more than any words could. Silence, when chosen wisely, is not passive, it's proactive. It's a way of communicating that you're in control, that you value your peace, and that you refuse to let negativity dictate your actions. Remember this, my friend, your silence is a reflection of your strength, not your weakness. It's a way of standing tall without raising your voice, of making your presence known without making a scene. Use it wisely and watch how it changes not just how others see you, but how you see yourself. Silence isn't just golden, it's transformative. And when you master it, you'll find that sometimes saying nothing says everything. Let me tell you something extraordinary about silence. It has the power to inspire change. Yes, silence can do what shouting, arguing, and even pleading often cannot. When you choose silence over retaliation, you plant a seed in the other person's mind. That seed grows into a question, why didn't they respond? Why didn't they argue back? Those questions, my friend, are the first steps towards self-awareness. And self-awareness is the foundation of real, lasting change. You see, when someone confronts you with negativity, they're often expecting a reaction. They're braced for resistance, for words they can fight back against, for energy they can match with their own. But when you stay silent, you take that expectation and turn it on its head. Instead of focusing on you, they're left to focus on themselves. Your silence forces them to sit with their own thoughts, their own actions, and their own attitude. That can be uncomfortable for them, but it's also necessary. Growth doesn't happen in comfort, it happens in reflection. Now let's be clear, this isn't about manipulation. It's not about making someone feel bad or trying to outsmart them. No, it's about creating space. When you don't fill the air with your own words, you leave room for theirs to echo back at them. And sometimes hearing themselves without interference is exactly what they need to recognize their own behavior. Your silence becomes a tool for clarity, not just for you, but for them. I've witnessed this in my own life and in the lives of others. I've seen people transformed not because someone told them they needed to change, but because they realized it themselves. And that realization often starts in the quiet moments, the moments when no one is arguing, no one is pushing, and no one is reacting. Those moments of silence are fertile ground for introspection, and introspection is where change begins. Let me give you an example. Imagine a colleague who has a habit of being dismissive or overly critical. If you respond to them in kind, the pattern continues. They criticize, you defend. They push, you push back. But if you choose silence instead, something remarkable happens. Without your reaction to fuel their behavior, they're left to face the reality of their actions. Over time, they might start to question why they behave the way they do. And in that questioning, they might find the motivation to change, not because you told them to, but because they saw the need for it themselves. Now, I'm not saying silence will instantly turn someone's life around. Change takes time, and not everyone is willing or ready to reflect on their own behavior. But for those who are, your silence can be the catalyst. It's a way of saying, without words, I see you, but I won't participate in this negativity. If you want to meet me on common ground, the door is open. That message delivered through silence is often more powerful than anything you could say. But let's talk about what silence does for you. When you choose not to react, you protect your own peace. You stay in control of your emotions and your energy, and that control is a gift not just to yourself, but to everyone around you. It allows you to approach the situation with clarity and compassion rather than frustration or anger. And when you operate from a place of clarity and compassion, you create an environment where change is not just possible, it's probable. So what's the lesson here? The next time someone challenges you with negativity or hostility, resist the urge to react. Instead, choose silence. Let your silence create space for them to reflect, for you to maintain your peace, and for the possibility of change to emerge. Silence isn't about giving up, it's about standing firm in your values, in your boundaries. It's about saying, without saying a word, I choose growth for both of us. Remember this, my friend, change doesn't happen in the noise of conflict. It happens in the quiet of understanding. And sometimes the most powerful way to inspire change is to say nothing at all. Your silence is not empty, it's full of potential. potential for clarity, for growth, and for transformation. So use it wisely and trust that in the right hands, silence can be the beginning of something truly extraordinary.